I was 32 years old when my entire life changed. As a successful software engineer in Seattle, I thought I had everything figured out. Amanda and I had been together for 5 years, and I genuinely believed she was the love of my life. We shared dreams, plans, and what I thought was mutual respect. Little did I know that our relationship would end, not just with heartbreak, but with a lawsuit that threatened everything I had worked for. What she never expected was that by suing me, she would end up losing absolutely everything. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button as I share how I protected myself when the person I trusted most betrayed me. The first time I met Amanda was at a tech conference in downtown Seattle. I was presenting a panel on emerging software trends, and she approached me afterward with thoughtful questions about user experience design. At 29, Amanda was confident, intelligent, and worked as a marketing specialist for a competing tech firm. We exchanged numbers, and within a week we were having dinner at my favorite Italian restaurant overlooking Puget Sound. From the beginning, everything felt right. Amanda and I shared similar values: a love for hiking the Pacific Northwest trails and ambitious career goals. Our relationship progressed naturally and happily. We took weekend trips to Portland and Vancouver, built a strong network of mutual friends, and supported each other through career changes and challenges. "You are the most brilliant programmer," I know she would tell me after I shared new ideas for apps or software solutions. "You should really develop something independently. You could make millions with your talent." Her encouragement meant everything to me. 3 years into our relationship, I decided to take her advice. While maintaining my full-time job at a major tech company, I began developing a specialized application that helped businesses optimize their supply chain logistics. It was niche, but potentially very valuable to the right companies. "This could be our ticket to financial freedom," Amanda would say, looking over my shoulder as I coded late into the night. I noticed her use of "our" but thought nothing of it at the time. After all, we were building a life together. When the relationship reached its 4-year mark, we decided to move in together. I had purchased my downtown condo before meeting Amanda, and it made sense for her to move in with me, since it was closer to both our workplaces. The place was spacious with floor-to-ceiling windows offering stunning views of the city skyline and Elliott Bay. One evening after she moved in, Amanda brought up something unexpected while we were having dinner. "Cedric, I was thinking it might make sense to add my name to the deed of the condo," she said casually, "since we are essentially married in all but paper." I was taken aback. The condo had been a major investment for me, purchased entirely with my savings and income before we even met. "I understand where you are coming from," I replied carefully, "but I bought this place before we met. Maybe we should consider a different property together in the future, something we both contribute to equally." Amanda seemed disappointed but let the matter drop. Or so I thought. A few months later, I noticed some unusual spending on our joint account. We had maintained separate finances, but created a shared account for household expenses. There were charges for designer clothing, expensive salon treatments, and even a weekend trip to Los Angeles that Amanda had taken with her friends without mentioning the cost. "I thought our joint account was for shared expenses," I said during a rare argument. "We are building a life together," she replied defensively. "My image is part of our shared success. Besides, you make more than I do." While that was true, the income disparity was not enormous, and we had agreed on budgeting our shared expenses proportionally. Nevertheless, I wanted to avoid conflict and still believed in our relationship. I chalked it up to different financial perspectives and moved on. Around this time, my application was finally nearing completion. After 18 months of late nights and weekends sacrificed to coding, testing, and refinement, I had something valuable. A major logistics company expressed interest in purchasing the software outright for $2 million. This was life-changing money, the kind that could set me up for true financial independence. When I shared the news with Amanda, her reaction surprised me. "That is wonderful," she exclaimed, hugging me tightly. Then pulling back to look at me, she added, "So that is $1 million each. We could finally buy that vacation property in Hawaii we talked about." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean?"